They laughed at us. They sneered at our trucks. They called them mere support, until hundreds of steel beasts surged across France under fire. That was the Red Ball Express, and it changed the war. After D-Day in June, the Allies expected a slow advance. Roads in northern France were shattered, rail networks bombed, bridges collapsed. Supplying frontline troops was turning into a nightmare. The Germans watched skeptically. These Americans talk big about mobility, but how will they feed their armies? By mid-August 1944, the Allied breakout was faster than planners had expected. The gap between ports and the advancing front stretched dangerously thin. American troops needed thousands of tons of fuel and ammunition daily. The railroad lines that once carried supplies were either destroyed or under German control. Something had to give. In just 36 hours, military planners met in a high-pressure session. Their solution: convert existing truck fleets into an express convoy system. They called it the Red Ball Express, borrowing from railroad parlance. A red ball meant priority, high-speed delivery. On August 25, 1944, the system went live. At its peak, nearly 5,958 trucks moved as much as 12,500 tons of supplies per day. These convoys were manned not by frontline infantry, but by soldiers pulled from support units, many of them African American. In fact, about 70 to 75% of Red Ball drivers were black troops, at a time when the U.S. Army remained segregated. These drivers faced more than distance: bombed out roads, German snipers, fatigue, breakdowns. One driver recalled, "There were dead bodies and dead horses on the highways after bombs dropped. I was scared, but I did my job." General Patton later called the 2.5-ton truck our most valuable weapon. Later still, John D. Eisenhower, son of the Allied commander, said, "Without the Red Ball, the advance across France could not have been made." The Red Ball Express operated on a one-way loop system. Trucks left ports, Cherbourg, etc. via one route, delivered supplies to staging areas near the front, then returned via a separate route. Civilian traffic was banned from those roads. To avoid confusion and accidents, all trucks had to carry a Red Ball emblem and follow strict spacing rules. Convoys traveled day and night, often under blackout conditions. Tail lights were slim cat-eye slits to reduce visibility. Driver changes were often made on the move, as one team swapped seats beneath the cab while the other kept the truck rolling. Breakdowns were constant. On one random check, 81 loaded but broken down trucks were found waiting on the side of French roads near Versailles. To maximize throughput, speed governors were sometimes disabled. The trucks could push 60 miles per hour, is almost equal to 100 kilometers per hour when needed. German commanders believed that once Allied supply lines stretched, they would buckle. They saw trucks as fragile, vulnerable, no match for rail lines, guarded convoys, and German air or artillery strikes. They mocked the idea: you can't win a war with trucks. But the pace of the Red Ball convoys surprised them. The constant flow of fuel, ammo, and rations let Allied forces push hard. It turns out the Germans had underestimated the U.S. logistic machine. As the Red Ball Express ramped up, it became the lifeline of the Allied advance. In late August and September, as German forces retreated, Patton's Third Army hurtled eastward. The trucks were not always far behind, sometimes trenching closer to front lines, even delivering fuel directly to tanks under fire. By November 1944, the port at Antwerp was opened, rail lines were repaired, and fuel pipelines put into service. The urgent need for truck convoys diminished. In total, over the 83 days of operation, the Red Ball Express carried more than 412,000 tons of supplies. It had transported gasoline, ammunition, food, and equipment, enough to keep dozens of divisions moving. These truckers were unsung heroes. Many faced discrimination, segregation, racial slurs. Yet they drove on, under fire, in darkness, through shell-scarred roads. One veteran recalled balancing in his cab while switching seats mid-move. Another said, "Patton wanted us to eat, sleep, and drive, but mostly drive." Their success proved a simple but powerful truth: logistics wins wars. The Red Ball Express was not glamorous. It was relentless, and it shattered German assumptions. Today, historians see Red Ball not just as a supply line, but as a turning point that made bold advances possible. Imagine this. Hundreds of miles behind the front, night falls, and a snake of trucks moves forward. Under blackout, through bomb craters, through silence broken by distant artillery. The Germans had hoped to stall, to strangle the Allies. Instead, those trucks became thunder, pushing the front forward. They mocked America's trucks, but the Red Ball convoy crushed their illusions. It redefined what was possible in modern warfare. When we think of World War II heroes, we often remember pilots, tank crews, infantry. But the men of the Red Ball Express were just as vital. They taught the world, wars aren't fought just by guns. They're won by supply, by planning, by perseverance. Next time you see a convoy rolling across a highway, remember, every gallon of fuel, every shell, every ration once had to make that journey. The Red Ball Express carried hope, momentum, and victory. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, which supply system or logistical feat from history always blew your mind. Until next time, we remember those who moved wars forward, often unseen, but never forgotten.